Good morning once again, and a very warm welcome to everyone. I know everyone has a busy schedule. Thank you for making time to join us. We will still be admitting more participants as and when they join in. And yes, welcome panelists, welcome GNBCC members, partners, and stakeholders. Today, we have a very interesting subject to cover. My name is Nana Baini Ohiming with GNBCC. A little brief about what GNBCC does. GNBCC, standing for Ghana, Netherlands Business and Culture Council. We proudly serve as the liaison between Ghanaian businesses and businesses in the Netherlands. We foster trade, investment, and networking between the two nations. We are a vibrant membership-based organization with over 117 members and still counting. And so if you are here and not yet a member, I would say at the end of this webinar, try and get in touch so that we can sign you on. Our core aim and reasons for these webinars is to engage our members, also to give them insightful, actionable, and forward-looking insights to things that are going on around us. We do actively support advocacy for our donors. Currently, we are working on the private sector development project for the Dutch Embassy, and it mainly focuses on youth, women, and the focus is in agric. Currently, we are doing horticulture and cocoa. That's the project we are working on. The youth, the program we are running currently is the Horticulture Business Challenge. The closing ceremony will take place on the 24th of October at GNBCC's premises. All are cordially invited. As many of you that can join, it will be very nice to encourage the youth, particularly with what they are doing. They have insightful ideas to support businesses. And so if you are able to make it, GNBCC will be happy, as well as the participants who have taken their time to work on business cases for our selected members. Women in Business is also ongoing currently, and we will put all the information that surrounds this in the chat after or during the session, so that more information, you can call or get in touch with us for more information. And so we will also proudly launch a Ghana Seed partnership with 13 seed companies and partners from the Netherlands next week. As many of you, well, the information will be out there after everything is done. And so look out for the Ghana Seed partnership project, which GNBCC will be launching soon. All right, so for what we are here to do today, our topic for today, a sustainable Ghana cocoa sector, investment, innovation, and opportunities. It is critical for this discussion, and we do have some very brilliant experts on this, excuse me, on this subject. I am proud to introduce, well, I won't do the whole introduction. I'll give the floor to them to introduce themselves properly, but a quick one. We have Naomi Ternstra, the Second Secretary, Embassy of the Kingdom of Netherlands. We have Max Esolate, the Managing Director for Cargill Ghana Ltd, and Eric Amwakwejari, the Country Director for Solidaridad. And so in just a few minutes, I'll open the, if you can all, in no particular order, whoever is ready, but I think we always say ladies first. And so just give us a brief introduction about yourself and share your initial thoughts on what you think or what you want our audience to take away today, particularly leveraging on your expertise and addressing some issues that will be of interest to them. Thank you very much. Welcome. Naomi, ladies first.
Thank you very much, Nana, and a special thanks to the GNBCC for organizing this webinar today. We're very happy that we can do this, discuss this very important topic. So I'm pleased that this initiative is taking place, and I'm looking forward to the discussions with Eric and with Max, and also to the questions from the audience, because I think for today, we're discussing a very interesting topic. Sustainability and innovation is a very critical topic when it comes to cocoa farming, cocoa production. And I think for today, what I would really want to do is, I mean, we're here with a very interesting mix of organizations and companies, right? We have a very big company, Cargill, here. We have a very important NGO in the cocoa sector in Ghana. We are here today as a development partner as well. So I think this is an interesting mix of different sector players, and I think it's an interesting and nice also, well, representation of what is possible in the cocoa sector in Ghana, because we oftentimes say, oh, people are working in silos, people don't talk, we don't come to solutions. There's a lot of doom and gloom in the cocoa sector, but I think having us speak together today is also a nice showcasing that it is possible to talk together, to discuss, have open questions, open conversations, honest answers to challenges that are real in the cocoa sector. But also have a positive outlook on what is possible, because innovation in the cocoa sector, there's a huge opportunity for a lot of changes in the cocoa sector. And I think it's also interesting today to look at, okay, what is possible? What are the interesting innovations that are out there? Do we have nice ideas that we can take forward in the future? So in short, I think I'm really looking forward to having this discussion, to also create this space for dialogue, and also see, okay, what can we take forward in the future? So I'm really happy to be here and looking forward to the discussions.
Thank you. Next panelists can introduce themselves.
Okay, let me take it. Sorry, Max, go.
No, please go ahead. No.
Yeah.
Eric, you want to go?
Okay, then let me go. Yeah, thank you very much, Nana, for the invitation. And good morning to all the participants on this program. My name is Eric Amwakwe-Jari. Nana mentioned it. I work for Solidaridad West Africa, but the Ghana office. I've worked for Solidaridad for over a decade, so I'm a grandfather here. But just to mention that in all my engagements in Solidaridad, as we speak, I am the country representative. People call me the country manager, others call me the country director. But whatever it is, I'm leading the Ghana operations as far as Solidaridad West Africa is concerned. I don't know how many of us know Solidaridad as an organization. But Solidaridad is it's a civil society organization that works mainly to ensure that low-income communities, farmers, producers, workers in agricultural value chains really benefit from the efforts that they are putting in, and making sure that they are generating incomes that would improve their livelihoods. Solidaridad is a big organization. We are global, but headquartered in the Netherlands. We have about 7 regional expertise centers that people call the offices. We have 3 in Africa: West Africa, East and Central Africa, and Southern Africa. We have an office in the Far East. We also have an office in the Netherlands, where the network secretariat is. We are in Latin America, and also we are in the USA. For West Africa, we work in 7 countries: Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, Chad, and Benin. Just to mention that today's subject is very important to us, simply because for Solidaridad, cocoa is one of the key commodities, agricultural commodities, that we are working on. And I'm indeed very excited to be a part of the panelists to discuss exactly how the sector is, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, and all that. I'm sure that by the close of this webinar, some insights will be gleaned from our presentation, so that it can help to for others to make decisions as far as the sector is concerned. Just to mention that I'm happy to have Naomi and also Max to really put our heads together to enlighten participants on the crop cocoa. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Eric. And so we save the best for last, Max.
Oh wow, I don't know if it's the best for last, but I think it's last for sure. So my name is Max Esolat. I'm the managing director for Cargill Ghana Ltd. You know, very happy to be here. Thank you for organizing this this forum, and I hope that, you know, at the end of this exchange, we will get to learn more about the industry, some of the challenges, opportunities that there is. And again, I don't think that this would be a session to necessarily problem solve everything that's happening in cocoa. I think this would be a good opportunity for us to exchange. The cocoa supply chain is very, very complex. And you know, I guess getting the input from everyone, from NGOs to the embassy, from the GNBCC and all the participants would definitely help us make some progress, right? So I think this is what at least my aim is to achieve during this this webinar. A little bit about Cargill for people that are not necessarily familiar with the organization. So Cargill is this big you know, organization based out of the US, heavily focused on agriculture. So we provide food, agriculture, you know, and services and products, you know, to our customers. We are also involved in like bio-industrial and some financial aspect of you know, sectors. So we've been Cargill Ghana has been in Ghana for about 40 years, sourcing predominantly cocoa, right? So this is the core of our operations here in Ghana. We do source cocoa from farmers. We process it here in our plant in Tema, and you know, we ship it globally, right? There is also some local, which is a smaller part of our portfolio versus what we export. We expanded our plant in 2021. We produce in Ghana about 90,000 tons of cocoa beans annually, right? So this is quite a sizable operation. We are the largest processor here in Ghana. And, you know, we also have a licensed buying companies, and that company usually interface with farmers to be able to source the cocoa beans. So we operate in about 20 districts here in Ghana, from the Northwest to Ashanti region, etc. Like we are quite present in the cocoa supply chain here in Ghana. We are involved also in a lot of sustainability and social impact initiatives, right? So those for us are very important, because as Cargill, we believe that if we operate in a community, we need to give back to that community, right? So this is sort of the impact that we also want to have in the various countries where we operate, and we do the same here in Ghana. So this is a little bit about us. You know, our footprint in terms of people here in Ghana, we employ about 700 people, directly or indirectly, and most of them are Ghanaians, if not all of them. Well, obviously except me, because I'm Ivorian, right? So this is sort of the size and the breadth of our organization here in Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Max, Eric, and Naomi for the introduction, letting us know more about your industries or your companies, sorry, and more about yourselves. We will delve right into what issues for today are. We are not here to solve problems like Max rightly said. We want to be educated, we want to be informed and know the way forward. And so innovation, technology, all these things, springing up now in our world, we would want to know. And I think this question I will direct to you, Eric. It's not ladies first this time. So Eric, I would want to know, can you please, the average cocoa farmer is aging. So we want to talk about the future, the youth. The average cocoa farmer is aging. How can Ghana's cocoa sector become more attractive for young people, both as farmers and entrepreneurs, through innovation, digitalization, and new business modules? If you can please touch on this for us.
Thank you very much, Nana. Just to mention that we all know what cocoa as a crop is to this country. We know that cocoa commands some revenues and some contribution to our gross domestic product as the GDP. We also know that by way of production, cocoa employs close to around 800,000 people working to see how best this beautiful crop can be produced. We also know that through the bean that comes out of the cocoa tree, we do shipments out of this country and generate quite a lot of foreign exchange. Just to mention that, sometimes when the cocoa syndicated loans just comes into this country, then you see how energized the population is, how it impacts on our foreign exchange, how it impacts on our city and all that. So I think the crop is very, very important to this country. Even politically, you cannot separate cocoa from Ghana politics. We all know that. But the sad reality is that how the crop has been produced over the long period of time that we got to know that cocoa has a good value still remains almost the same. You go to the communities, you see farmers still using the cutlass and all kinds of tools that belongs to the quote-unquote the dark ages. And by so doing, we find that quite a lot of youth are not excited about the crop. And many of them are moving into the cities looking for jobs. Meanwhile, there are opportunities that can be created along the production value chain or the supply chain to see how best they can also benefit from there. And by so doing, the old individuals who were working on cocoa are still the same individuals working on the crop now. And currently, the average age of a cocoa farmer is beyond 16 years, around 60 years. Some are saying 58, some are saying 60, some are saying 62. So let's put it at around 60. Now the question is that if these individuals pass on, what will happen to the sector? It's a very sad story. The reality is that the youth need to get excited about the cocoa supply chain and how they can get themselves involved. Another challenge remains declining productivity. What is happening is that a space that an acre of cocoa that should be able to produce roughly about a ton or two of cocoa just produce about 300 kg of cocoa. So still, no matter how farmers are working very hard, their productivity is low. Effectively, their returns are low. But there is hope for the youth to come on board as far as cocoa production and value addition is concerned. First of all, if we want to attract the youth, we know that the youth are individuals who are excited about technology, who are excited about modernity, and who are excited about profits, because that will give them the lives that they need to have. So if we really want to excite the youth into the cocoa sector, one of the things we should do as a country is to modernize the sector and make it a profitable business. If it is not modernized, then sorry, the youth will continue to exit and come into our cities looking for opportunities, whilst opportunities stare them in the areas that they are. And how do we do that? How do we modernize the sector? We can do that by creating or making available access as far as finance is concerned. We need to apply technology to be able to make sure that the sector is modernized. Mobile applications, digital traceability tools, and other exciting technologies that would improve or make the sector very lively. We also need to ensure that we promote entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship mainly is about what is done. So if we are just only looking at the cocoa production as just the way of subsistence farming, then sorry, the youth have seen a lot of their parents and grandparents just paying attention to the sector through drudgery, but they are not getting enough. So I think promoting entrepreneurship, getting investment into the sector, providing access to land, and all that are key areas of work that we need to do as a country to get the youth in there. Again, we also need to look at other value chain of opportunities that excites the youth. The issue of value addition. How are we adding value to the cocoa bean? Previously, quite a good chunk, and even still persists, a good chunk of the beans that we produce are exported to Europe and other global north countries. But what are we doing to ensure that the youth are seeing and also touching opportunities that will add value to the bean that is being produced? Producing cocoa drinks, cosmetics, and many of these derivatives as far as the cocoa bean is concerned. Once we do that, then it excites the youth. We also need to more or less work to promote non-farm opportunities within the sector. The youth need to get themselves involved in nursery management, input supply, logistics, quality control, and the rest. But unfortunately, quite a good chunk of these functions currently are being implemented by the Ghana Cocoa Board. Sometimes even because of the geopolitics and also the socio-politic arrangements, sometimes some of these things are done for free. And the question is that if the youth are getting excited about cocoa, wanting to do some of these functions or implement some of these functions, and an entity seeks to more or less supply them for free, then it becomes challenging for the youth to get themselves excited in there. We also need to look at the way we train the youth in there. We have been doing this classroom training and all that. I think it has to change. The youth wants to use what we call technology, phones, and others. So how are we digitizing our training arrangements, our training packages, such that it will excite the youth? Using YouTube, WhatsApp, mobile learning, and all those kinds of things will definitely excite the youth. Beyond that also, we need to look at what we call the youth innovation centers. Yes. How can we work to create some of these centers so that the youth can be excited? The issue of also building support ecosystems. It is one thing just wanting to get the youth involved. Just a second. If I don't quench this phone, it's what. Sorry about that. So what we have to do is that how do we work with other supply chain actors to be able to create the opportunities for the youth to get themselves involved. And there are many other things that we can do to do that. And the most critical thing is that we need to transform the cocoa sector from the traditional way that we have known it to be, to become modern, technology driven, and also profitable. And that is the only way that you can get the youth excited about the sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. This is insightful. So I heard how we can get the youth involved, financing, technology, promoting entrepreneurship, trying to get rid of the old ways and tools. And so, Naomi, I think I would want to hear from your side, from a policy and structural perspective, the how we can get the youth involved. I mean, as GNBCC, we already know what you're trying to do through the private sector development project, but our audience may not be privy to this. So how are we going to do this?
Yeah, thanks very much. And thanks, Eric. I think you set the bar high because you said it more or less all. So thanks very much. That was super insightful. And I was actually enthusiastically listening to it myself because what you said was very, very true. And I think the how is a very good question because, I mean, like Eric also pointed out, a lot of people, even if you talk to farmers, they will not advise their kids to go into cocoa farming. They'll rather advise against it. They'll say, please go to university and stay away from here. So I think, but when you come to it, I once spoke to a female farmer and she said, it's not that we don't want to get our hands dirty. We're okay. As long as it fetches money, we're good to go and we're happy to do farming. So I think when it comes to the how, we have to find ways of seeing how we can make farming profitable. And I think Eric already pointed out to a lot of different initiatives that could help making farming more profitable. I also very much agree that that also requires a critical look at how the cocoa sector is currently structured, because there are still a lot of impediments to how farming can be made profitable that can definitely be solved also by policy changes. That is one of the things that we're also here for, of course. As a development partner, we're always happy to think along on how that can be done, how policies can be changed, what kind of differences can be made. And then I think one of the important parts is also leading by example. Of course, as a development partner, we do some projects that also showcase, maybe on a very small scale, but we showcase what the possibilities are. So, for example, when it comes to innovation, we're currently setting up a farm of the future, and that's really targeted at making farming more attractive for young people. So actually, a lot of the things that Eric mentioned are being rolled out there. So, for example, we look at introducing the youth gangs into the cocoa farm to do a lot of the labor, also with labor-saving devices, of course. We're looking at value addition. So, for example, the production of biochar so that farmers can get carbon credits from it and also improve the soil health. We're looking at digitalization, so the creation of apps so that young people can also use it, track the quality of their farms, and in that way also get the skills of working with the digital tools. Because of course, a lot of times also in the smaller rural communities, that is not always a given that people are brought up with the digital skills. So I think those are already quite some practical examples of how through the work that we do, we also lead by example and show, okay, these things are possible. Another example, and Eric is also very known to it, is the rural service centers. We're currently rolling out a project, and Solidaridad as well, a different project on rural service centers, and that comes back to the point of entrepreneurship that Eric mentioned. Again, is, for example, the land tenureship is a very tricky topic, and it's not always easy for young people to access land. But solutions such as the rural service centers enable young people to still be active in the cocoa sector, even though they might not be able to access the land themselves or be the farmer of a specific farm themselves. It's also thinking in solutions, right? Because yes, there are a lot of old farmers, but with these rural service centers, that could also be the way to fill a gap, because the old farmers can't always do the labor at themselves anymore. But if these young people can set up a successful business, and it has been done, there are quite a number of good examples of that, young people can still provide those services, be active in the cocoa sector, and also make good money. They can also do a lot of the diversification that Eric talked about, getting more money from, for example, the compost production, fertilizer production, soap production, and I can go on for a while. So through this model, a lot of farmers can still be helped, and I think that also creates a lot of opportunities for the young people. Then lastly, I would like to touch on our hackathon. We also work with students, and I think that is also a critical point that Eric made about how do you make the education more practical and also more fun, maybe, than just reading from a book and remembering all the nitty-gritties. And we're organizing a hackathon with students from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. And this will also enable them to think about what problems do we have in the cocoa sector? These challenges will be brought in by the private sector, and then they will think about solutions. And I think that is also something that might also make young people more interested in the cocoa sector again, because if you talk to the private sector, it also becomes more concrete, right? Then sort of the struggle of, oh, if I want to be a farmer, how do I go about it? How do I get my land? How do I get the money? But in this way, you already create the linkages between education systems and the private sector, and I think that will also go a long way. I think I'll leave it at this before I talk too long, but I hope this helps.
It does. It does help. I mean,
Nana.
Yes.
Sorry, if I can have even 1 minute to add to
yes,
the comments
actually, I also wanted
made,
to
right?
ask you a question. I don't know which angle you're taking it from, but whichever angle, I would also want you to touch on the global, scale, since your company is also quite global.
Yeah.
You are looking at leaving the shores of Ghana and all, but if they can know how globally cocoa is embraced and the future of cocoa, I mean, that is my personal question, so you can add your angle to it as well.
Oh, I think this is the point that I was also trying to raise, right? So I think when Naomi and Eric spoke, they covered a lot of ground. And I think one thing that was mentioned was around modernizing the sector here in Ghana. And I think for us that have visibility in, let's say, what's being done in Ghana, what's being done in Ivory Coast, what's being done in Latin America, right? You can see that the farming practices are completely different. So when you look at Latin America today, and recently you probably are all aware that the cocoa sector in Latin America is quickly, moving forward, right? So to the point where we feel like Ecuador may be taking over Ghana as the second producer of cocoa in the next year or so. But that's because they have modernized the agricultural practices. When you look at, how they go about producing, the tool that they use, the yield that they get out of 1 acre, right? I think here you can get maybe 500 kgs. There you go even beyond a ton, right? So I think all the research and development, all the practices, agricultural practices that are being into place are very modern, to the point where even if you are a youth, it could be very attracting. In fact, when I saw, how they were doing things in those countries, I wanted to become a farmer, right? But I think we have to come to the point where we are looking at, okay, what is the neighbor doing, and how can I replicate a similar model here? We talk about land access, access to equipment, all those things have to be in place here for the Ghanaian farmers to want to further be more productive, but also to attract the youth. And I think this this tone has to come from the top, right? Whether it's the leadership of the country, but also like the companies that are operating in the countries, right? So for instance, when Cargill talks with leader, let's say Cocoa Board or like, other leaders here, we want to be involved in like finding a solution that would make this sector very sustainable. And if that means like using the technical knowledge that we have acquired from other regions, or even supporting with financing, right? We want to find a way to make the Ghanaian cocoa sector sustainable, for the long term. So I think if we apply these modern tools to our sector, that would be very interesting for the youth that will want to be involved, and that will create a longer outlook for the cocoa sector here in Ghana.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think you've set a tone for me to ask Eric another question: sustainability. So the question I would want to ask you now is, what are the most promising sustainability practices that could enhance production or productivity whilst protecting the environment and ensuring the farmers' welfare? I mean, we want to be practical. Most of us on this call today may probably not be farmers, but for the numbers that have shown up today, you should tell us that we are interested. We want to know what's going on, how we can get involved ourselves, if possible. And so,
yes, thank you very much, Nana. As we've all said, we need to modernize the sector. But even as we are doing that, we definitely know that when you are talking about sustainability, we are looking at the fact that you are exploring or exploiting the agricultural supply chain, but you are not only doing that, you are exploiting it in a manner that it will not have any negative consequences on the environment, whilst also pay attention to social systems and all that. So to be able to really look at some of the sustainable practices, we need to look at practices that would improve the crop in terms of productivity and others, but at the same time, practices that will enhance or contribute to environmental sustainability, and then also bring about social inclusion and all that. With the advent of climate change, we all know that climate smart and regenerative cocoa farming is the way to go. If we say that, what do we mean? We all know that cocoa is a forest crop, but our forests are going away because of the manner in which we are really cutting them down. So what it is that we need to do is, how do we ensure that the cocoa that we are growing, more or less, we integrate shade trees, fruit trees, timber species, and others, as far as the production orchards are concerned. Because for cocoa, if you don't do that, then what it means is that just at the time of fruiting and harvesting, you can do well, but trust me, 5, 6, 7 years down the line, you see that the cocoa trees will be dying. But if they have some of these shade trees and all that, it protects the tree. Again, we also need to look at the fact that soil health is important. Our soils are depleting. How are we ensuring that we are using compost, cover crops, mulching arrangement, and all that to ensure that we get good soil health that can promote the crop's development? Whether we like it or not, cocoa, yes, is a tree crop. So when it comes to diseases and pests, it also harbors it. So how do you go about it? We also need to pay attention to how we are managing some of these pests and diseases. The past few years, because of what we call pesticides and the rest, individuals just put it in the how do you call it? The spraying equipment, and they are just spraying without paying attention to its impact on the soil and other biological health. So we also need to find creative ways of how to control and manage some of these diseases, because if we are to focus on only the chemical part of it, it will not be good for us. And the issue of also farm rehabilitation and also farm management is critical. For cocoa, if you can have a good cocoa tree without proper pruning and canopy management, then what it means is that, yes, you see a very nice tree with some architecture, but you won't have a lot of the pots that you are looking at as far as volumes are concerned. We also need to look at how we manage water and land use. You see farmers just weeding and burning. That is not the way to go. We need to find ways of how we can manage some of these weeding processes such that we'll be able to plant the cocoa, we'll be able to manage the weeds, but at the same time, being conscious of the fact that whatever you do will not impact so much on the environment. On the use of energy efficient and all that, we know that I think Naomi mentioned of biochar and the rest. How do we ensure that the side streams, when we split the cocoa, we get the pods and all that, you see it all spread out under the cocoa trees. Sometimes we think, okay, yes, it would rot and give the soil good health. It's fine. But we should also know that if we're able to turn them into biochar, it helps in managing carbon. And we all know that there is carbon market that is developing around the world now. And one such practices, we ensure that we do some of these biochar. We can even take advantage of this ecosystem engagements that cocoa brings to bear on the environment. We can get money out of the carbon that we are using the biochar to create as a sink in the soils. When it comes to trading and marketing systems, also, we need to enforce and ensure that transparency and traceability is enhanced so that clearly we know where the cocoa is coming from. If we don't do that, then what it is that sometimes people are just cutting down the forests and without recourse to the fact that it has consequences on the environment. So if we manage to improve and to install traceability and transparency systems, it helps to manage processes that will allow for the cocoa production and its contribution to the environment. I am of the view that if we manage to also use, and I think I've mentioned it, the cocoa shell and all the side streams and turning them back to become organic fertilizer, use biogas and all that, it would also help. One area that's sometimes a bit tricky is how we ferment and dry the cocoa. Over the past many decades that we have been involved in cocoa, we do fermentation, and then we also doing drying using the traditional ways, and that has really given us some advantage in the marketplace by way of how the cocoa is perceived in terms of taste and flavor and all that. But I think the world is changing. So we need to find creative ways for ensuring that we can use some of these controlled fermentation and solar drying whilst also maintaining the flavors and all that. So in fact, there are many ways that we can put in efforts, particularly looking at the crop itself, how we grow it, and how we also work to create sustainable trading systems, and then also how we seek to process and treat the post-harvest arrangements. And I believe that once we do some of these things, it will help improve the sustainability of the production arrangement and also the trading systems that will help as far as cocoa is concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Max, do you think you can add on to what he said, traceability, in the global sense as well? If not, but before we come to you, there are lots of questions coming in the chat box, and to me directly as well. Yes, our audience, we are hearing you, and we will definitely address all your questions. This session it's all about you. As much as we can, we will answer all the questions. So just hold your horses, and after the presentations, they will take the questions one after the other. Okay, thank you. So Max, please, if you can.
Yeah, so on the sustainability front, right, sustainability and social impact for Cargill, this is critical, right? So we do have a flagship program that we have in place to support farmers, which we call the Cargill Cocoa Promise. But honestly, the focus on that is to really support the farmers' livelihood, to ensure that there is strong sustainable farming practices in place that they can regularly apply. We also want to make sure that traceability is key, right? So before we even have EUDR and all those new traceability schemes that you see nowadays, Cargill was already involved through our own buying company into doing traceability for the cocoa that we purchased. In fact, that's the reason why we even entered we even started, our own LBC, so we could have the control and the visibility on the movement of the cocoa beans that we purchase, right? And we do partner also with a lot of NGOs, so let it be Care International, even Solidaridad. We want to make sure that when it comes to access to water, the support that, let's say, the farming communities need, we as Cargill, being a key player in the sector, we are able to provide that support to those farmers. So, I mean, at a high level, if we talk about sustainability, right, this is top of mind for Cargill. We believe that sustainability gives us the right to operate here, right? We cannot do one without the other. You operate in the country, the global citizenship response is to give back to that community. And Cargill has been doing that since we've been in Ghana. And that's not just in Ghana. Every areas where we operate, we try to do our best to apply the right sustainability model to make sure that we respond to the concern of the farmers, or even the local communities.
Thank you very much. You mentioned a very important, keyword, collaboration and partnership. And so I think this is where I would need you again, Naomi, as a government agency, also supporting Ghana. I would want to know, how can the private sector, the actors and government, the development partners and collaborators, how can they be more effectively engaged to create a resilient and future-ready cocoa sector? This question is for you, please, Naomi.
Thanks very much. And I think it's a question close to our heart as the Netherlands Embassy, because it's, I would humbly say, one of the things we're good at, convening, getting people together. And, when it comes to collaboration, people use that word a lot, right? We should work together more, we should do more together, we should be more effective, we can build on each other. But then at the end of the day, and I think we're all guilty of it, people go back to their own silos and sit in it again, because we know what we're good at, we know what we can do best, we know our expertise. And sometimes we would even think, oh, and we can do it better than our neighbor. So that is a risk that keeps coming up. And that is also a very logical risk, because it's not always easy to work together. Sometimes it's also easier to do it on your own. But I think at the end of the day, to be really successful and also find that bridge between the development partners and the government agencies and the private sector and the CSOs, then we do need to step out of our own silo, look beyond our own horizon and say, okay, where can we find our synergies? do I know any other businesses or organizations that are active in this or this district? Do I know any organization that would be a good partner for us? And of course, that happens already a lot, but I think we can still do more. And I would like to give an example from our side, and then I'll come to the CocoaBot as well, because, for example, Eric knows all about it. We have a CSO platform at our embassy, so we come together regularly. We talk about critical issues in the cocoa sector. We give presentations about our own expertise, and we learn from each other. And I think that's where it all starts, to get an open mind, be curious about each other's work, ask a lot of questions. And then that is also the starting point for finding linkages that you can say, oh, of course, I talk to this and this CSO every now and then, but now we're all together. And I realize again, oh, it's true, that organization does that in that region. Oh, we're also there. We can maybe do more together. And I think that is a very important first step, to spend time together and then talk and ask questions. And for us, that is also an important role that we play, that we bring together partners so that we can talk. We also do that with other development partners, that we sit together and say, hey, okay, what is your expertise? Can we make sure that we're not doing the same thing? And I think that is where it all starts. And then, without disregarding our own efforts as an embassy, I would really like to point out also the work that CocoaBot is currently doing. They're setting up a Cocoa Monitor in collaboration with the FAO and the EU. And I think, I mean, of course, people always say, oh, we have had so many multi-stakeholder platforms, and they always end somewhere in the shadows. We don't hear from them again. But I think it's very important that this initiative is now being set up. The idea is really that we all come together as all sector players. And I think that's really nice. Just like we are talking today, it's not every day that the private sector, the CSOs, the development partners, the government talk together. And I think this Cocoa Monitor can be really that avenue where we together work towards systems transformation, because you can't do that on your own, and you really need everyone together, because we all play our own role in that very long value chain, right? We all have our own responsibilities and things we're trying to work on. So once we are together and we really set an agenda and we all agree on it as different sector players, I think we can really go a long way to create a resilience and future-proof cocoa sector. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Can I add something relating to, sustainability is about what we do on the crop. It also looks at the environment. What we sometimes is a bit lacking is mainly about farmer welfare and social sustainability. Yes, there are many farmers who are producing cocoa, but when you go to the farmer environment, the farmer communities, they are struggling a lot. Poverty is an issue. Sometimes people are asking themselves, do I have to continue doing cocoa whilst others are doing other crops? The reality is that, yes, cocoa is an important crop that allows farming communities and households to generate revenue. But I must say that cocoa is seasonal. You cannot get cocoa all through the year. So the most important thing is that how are we also supporting farmers in income diversification, getting themselves involved in other cropping arrangements that together with the cocoa can bring them decent income as far as their dwelling or their work in cocoa is concerned. So income diversification is very important. Solidaridad, we are working very well to see how best, in as much as we are promoting cocoa, we are also getting farmers to look at other options that together with the cocoa can give them decent living income. Beyond that, also youth empowerment and gender is important. Sometimes the women will feel that, oh, their place is in the kitchen, but no, that is not it. If you look at it very well, you see that women are also playing very key roles in the supply chain. Just that we are not giving them the prominence that we are supposed to give them. So we also need to focus attention on gender issues, getting the farming community to understand that what the man can do equally, the woman can even do, and even sometimes do better than the men. We also need to find creative ways of bringing the youth entrepreneurship and all that. We need to do that. And beyond it also, we need to look at how we can improve on community development and social schemes that will also benefit the poor. It will surprise you that some farmers, when their relatives pass on, can even seed up their whole cocoa farm just to get some small amount of money to be able to pay for some of these funeral expenses. And that is not good. So what you need to do is that how can we get the farmers, how can we ensure that there are some kind of pension arrangements, insurance arrangements that they can also benefit from. These are the sort of things that we can also do if we are looking at sustainability. How can we do such things so that the social angle of it really can also bring to bear as far as the supply chain is concerned? I think this is very, very important also to mention. Thank you very much.
If I can add something to that, right, Eric, 100% aligned with that. I think for us, sustainability and the social aspect, they have to go hand in hand, right? So, and that's the reason why we get involved. So 2 days ago, I was in Ineni, right? And we were donating a fully refurbished computer lab to the community, right? So we have donated 40 computers. We, built desks and chairs and a 65-inch TV screen just to help support the children go to school, right? So yes, it's true, like, we are in the cocoa farming community, but not everybody necessarily want to grow up to be a farmer, right? So how do we make sure that we are closing the gap with digital learning for those youth, right? We have other areas where they did not have access to water, right? So we created a water project where they can now, women don't have to walk like 30 minutes to 1 hour to go get water. They can just fetch the water immediately within the communities. As we talk about, like, giving, supporting entrepreneurship, right? We partnered with the International Cocoa Initiative to give apprenticeship training to children, to youth. And last year we graduated 60 of them. Not only we graduated them after the training, but we also gave them, like, starting funding, for them to actually start whatever practice, if you want to be a tailor or a mechanic, etc. Right? So I think this aspect of social responsibility within the cocoa community, it goes a long way, right? And we'll continue to partner with our folks. So the embassies are also aligned with us, like some of the NGOs that we are working with. I think we can now do away with this social responsibility aspect within the cocoa growing communities.
Thank you. Thank you very much. These points are really insightful. And Eric, you touched on women and their role that they play in the sector. I'll use this opportunity to invite you all, especially our panelists, to follow our Women in Business project. The women are doing amazing jobs, and GNBCC has sought to mentor them to get to a higher height. This year, we are mentoring 45 women. I could be wrong. My colleague will give us the details in the chat box later so that everybody who is interested in knowing more could follow and give their contribution to this mentorship program that we are doing for our women in business. Also for the youth, GNBCC is actively involved in training and developing the youth. Currently, I mentioned earlier, we are doing the Horticulture Business Challenge. This challenge is for a selected number of students. Well, they went through a lot of vigorous selection process to be where they are right now. And these students have been put together in groups of 3, working in selected companies as well to give insightful, detailed solutions to problems or issues that the companies brought up to be solved. In the last couple of cohorts, we had, the students didn't have to work in the companies. They had to give solutions, and at the end of the day, they were awarded some kind of, well, they were awarded. Let me just leave it aside so that I don't talk too much. But this time around, they've gotten the opportunity to have a first hands-on training or working relationship with the companies. So the closing ceremony is on the 24th of October at GNBCC. Kindly make it a point, pass through, speak to some of the students. We need to practice what we are preaching or telling us to do. And already we have filtered or selected some very brilliant minds. We don't want to stop at that. How can we develop them further? How can we let them know that the process they've gone through wasn't business as usual, wasn't to check a box, but really interesting. The company GNBCC, in collaboration with the embassy, is really interested in taking them to the next level and having them also come and mentor and train other youth to get to where we want. And so the questions are coming. I don't know how we're going to do this in 1 hour, but we will manage. So please, if your questions are not addressed, it's not intentional, it's not personal. You all have to go back to your activities. We will send them all to our panelists. They'll give us detailed answers as much as they can, and then GNBCC will send it to you all. Everyone on this call, we do have your email addresses. In the event where you didn't register, so we don't have your email addresses, please put it in the chat box. Our communication team will put it together and the recording will be made available. Answers to the questions will be made available as well, so nothing is left out. And so I think let's quickly go on to the other discussion points before we address the questions, if that is okay. Max, I wanted you to, well, on the background of collaboration being the engine to, a better value for the goals we seek to achieve. Can you please let us know some of the strategies that Ghana can position in the global cocoa market? Sorry, I think I'm talking too much, so the words are becoming too many in my mouth. I will take it again. What strategies can strengthen Ghana's position in the global cocoa market through local processing, value addition, and branding that emphasizes on sustainability and traceability? Is my question clear?
Okay. Yeah, I think it's clear. So I want to say first that, cocoa in Ghana itself is a strong, we have a strong position, right? Whether it's locally or even internationally, right? So if you look at locally, it's about 8 to 10% of the GDP, right? It's about 15% of the total export of Ghana. So that's roughly about $2.5 or so billion, right? So already this is a strong and very important crop for the country. Now, there are obviously a lot of challenges with the cocoa sector, but I don't want to take away the fact that globally, the Ghana bean is a premium bean. It's a well-known bean in comparison to any matter of fact, we believe that the Ghana bean is the best bean that is out there. And I'm not just saying that because this is a Ghanaian platform. This is the truth. And that's why it commands a premium. There is a premium attached to the Ghana bean. It has a higher fat content. So if you want to make a cocoa butter in comparison to any other beans, it has a lower FFA, right? So oftentimes you kind of use the Ghana bean to offset the quality of other origin, the quality of the beans of other origins, right? So just to say that already, it is well known that the Ghana bean is a high quality, very important one. Now, lately, there have been a lot of challenges in the sector. So if you think about the production, how volatile the production has been, right? So back in 2021, if I recall, we had reached over about 1 million tons as a country, and then this went down 2 years ago to half of it. Now we are bouncing back slowly, but I think this is one of the major challenge in the sector. There is also like, the climate issues that is also impacting production. If you look at the swollen shoot disease, and other disease trees, aged trees, and all those issues that we are facing right now. To talk about even galamsey, which we are all aware of, or the smuggling of beans that goes from Ghana either to Togo or to Cote d'Ivoire, depending on where the farmer or the traders can make a bit more money, right? So I think the government need to intervene, to make sure that the Ghana beans is processed locally, and then find a way to provide market access to the farmers, or maybe to the processors, right? I think if you look at local value addition, right, I think there needs to be a lot of incentive for people to want to process the Ghana bean locally before exporting, because that's where you make more money, right? Exporting just the bean is not necessarily the way to get wealth into a country, but you want to add some values, turn it into cocoa butter, cocoa liquor, cocoa cake, cocoa powder, or even chocolate, right? And I think the more intervention from the government to support that, or maybe some sort of public-private partnership, I think would definitely go a long way in strengthening the position of the Ghana cocoa sector. I think also we need to find a way, and I think that we've talked about it during this whole webinar, find a way to support the farmer, help them with productivity, help them to ensure that with 1 acre, whatever size of land that they have, they can produce the maximum cocoa that this land can actually offer, right? So we have to make sure that we support them, we equip them, we give them the proper training, we give them the right tool. There is some sort of investment in research and development. And the last thing I would say is probably like the public and private collaboration, right? So it's not just one size. It's not just the government. It's not just the NGOs. It's not just the private companies. We all have to come together and find a way to support this sector, because I don't think the quality of the Ghana bean will go down. I just think we need to boost it even more and continue to support this sector to make it more competitive on the global market.
Okay, thank you. Eric or Naomi, do you have anything? I feel particularly proud right now as a Ghanaian to know that our bean has such premium. We don't know what we have most of the time, let me say. And so to have you, Max, reiterate this and stress it more, it makes me particularly proud. And I hope all the Ghanaians on the call right now will also be proud and take steps to make sure that the information we are gathering here today will not just be a listening exercise, but something that we're going to go back home, ponder on. If you're a farmer, if you're in the cocoa sector, precisely what you're going to do with the information you're getting today, and being the best in your little corner.
Yeah, I think just to add to what Mas said, for every agricultural value chain, there's production, there's processing, there is the marketing and trading aspect of it. And what is generally known is that the production part commands some bit of revenues, but when it comes to where the revenues accrue the most is the processing and also the trading aspects, where there is a lot of revenue that accrue. So those in the low stream, or I would say the bottom stream of the value chain, really benefits a lot. If you do a lot of studies, you realize that it's not only cocoa but others. So the point is that how do we enhance or increase processing capacity? How do we ensure that the beans that you are producing will be processed to semi-finished levels before we try to export? Previously, our cocoa is shipped almost all through to Europe, and then only a few is left here for other things. And we all know that it is only Ghana Cocoa Board that markets cocoa outside of Ghana. And what it is that sometimes the good quality cocoa, all of them are shipped. So the lesser, smaller beans are left for other processors also to use. But today, our neighbor, Cote d'Ivoire, really has increased production, processing capacity. Previously in the world, it was not Cote d'Ivoire, but today Cote d'Ivoire remains, I think, the #1 processor when it comes to cocoa bean. So we need to learn from them and to see how best we add value to the cocoa. And I'm excited also to indicate that as we speak, there are a lot of locals that are turning the cocoa bean into very wonderful things. Recently, I bought cashew that is doused or laced with cocoa, and it was very exciting. I've seen a lot of ladies and women also getting themselves involved in a value addition. Today, as we speak, I don't want to mention brand names, but you go to the shops, you see a lot of the cocoa in there is not the one that was produced only by CPC, but we have other brands that are coming and people are patronizing them. So in as much as, yes, our cocoa bean is #1 when it comes to the quality of it, we also need to think about how to improve by adding value. And we can create opportunities in those areas for the youth, as I mentioned earlier, and other speakers have also mentioned. So what I want to emphasize here is that there is good opportunity for value addition. It's just that as a people, as a government, as the political elite, we need to think about how can we create arrangements that will allow people to have the financing, have the technology, have the equipment, have the labor, have the people to be able to really improve and also to add value to what is being done. And I think this is what I want to emphasize and to add to what Max has shared with us. Thank you very much.
I think Max and Eric said it all when it comes to the technical side, but I would like to take the opportunity to do a small shout out to the, especially oftentimes, female artisanal chocolatiers. I think one of them is even on the call. I've been peeking through the participant list, and I think it's really good. I mean, we're coming back to this leading by example, right? Even though it's not easy to do local processing, especially on a small scale, it's oftentimes very expensive to do it. But I think they've been able to brand themselves well, to do their marketing well, to improve on their packaging and their quality. So it's really nice to see that in a country, I think CocoaBot always says it, we want to go from a cocoa country to a chocolate country, that it is possible. And I think there is a lot of opportunities that can still be explored. Especially for the women out there, I'm rooting for you.
Thank you, Naomi. You're right. And I have seen a couple of them in the chat as well. We are currently supporting 2 of them with their digital marketing, and it will amaze you what these young women, they are not just women, they are young women, are doing in the market. And so I just want to touch on a dicey subject. Maybe that will end the session for now so we can take some questions. And I say it's dicey because, you know, most people want money, and but I will touch on it anyway. In terms of financing, what what specific types of investments and financial instruments are needed to drive innovation and you know, the value chain, especially for smallholder farmers and women? We can just touch on it briefly. Again, like we started the session saying, we can't solve all the problems, and we are not here to touch on problems, but maybe some education. How do we get to these financing, and then to help our youth, women, and small-scale farmers. Even the large-scale farmers do want to know different avenues they can get financing. So I put you on the spot. Kindly help me. In no particular order, you can address this.
Well, I can start, but I'll be short because obviously this is a dicey, it's a difficult topic, right? With the price of cocoa fluctuating so much on the global market, I think it requires a lot of working capital for everyone, who wants to be in cocoa, right? And just going to the bank here in Ghana, I think the rates are like close to 20% now, between 18 and 20%, if I recall. So this makes it a bit difficult. I think it's an entry barrier, right? A barrier for anyone who wants to join that market. However, I think there's a lot of organizations out there that can provide some sort of soft loans or like smaller size loans to anyone who wants to be in this sector. So for instance, we work with licensed buying companies, right? So like I said earlier, we process about 90,000 tons of cocoa here in Ghana, right? But our own buying company cannot supply everything that we need for our plants. So there are other licensed buying companies that we do work with, right? Because we know them, we work with them, we've established that trust. And we knew, for instance, last year that when Cocoa Board was not able to get the syndicated loan, it would have become harder for them to be able to go and purchase the beans. So we internally extended them some financing so they could go purchase the beans. We pre-finance, if you will, the crop, right? For them to be able to purchase the beans. And then at the end of the season, they return those funds to us. So this was our way for us to sort of pump a bit of liquidity into the system. Now, there are other programs out there. For instance, we have what we call a village savings and loan initiative, right? Association, where we also support the farmers with small sums of money that they can use to not only help with the crop but also help with the community. So you have some women that are now manufacturing liquid soap, black soap, pastries, etc., right? So the access to financing, I recognize, is challenging, but there is a lot of companies or organizations around Ghana that if you do a bit of research, you can tap into and see how whatever you have to offer aligns with their project or their vision, and then they may have the funding that is available to support you. So I think at a high level, I think that's what I would say.
Thank you.
I'm still regretting. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Then you can, I'm sure you're more knowledgeable. I was going to say, I still regret dropping the economy class in 9th grade because I'm a bit of a financial noob. So, but for what I can say, I think Max already, of course, mentioned the village saving and loan associations, but I think that has already gone a long way in supporting farmers at a smaller scale. And I think there are also interesting initiatives in bringing, for example, those VSLAs together to create more of a push and some clouds so that farmers can also, well, maybe increase their investment readiness a bit through it as well. And I think that's where it comes down to it, right? It's in the end important that farmers can do their farming as a business. That's what we always say. And that also requires that they can access finance. And I think that's currently so difficult because if you look at the interest rates that farmers need to pay at the bank, going up to 30–40%, it's virtually impossible for a farmer to go to the bank and get money. So I think what we also try to do from our side, and also a lot of other initiatives ongoing where we try to de-risk farmers, that's one of the avenues at the moment to also maybe help farmers access funds. But in the end, of course, that's not the most sustainable model. At some point, you also want to come to a point where banks are actually in a situation where they feel that they can finance farmers in a way that it's not too risky. So I think we have to come up with a model where we can make sure that the de-risking of farmers is done properly. Yeah, so I think it's dicey indeed. There's a long way to go. But with the small initiatives, again, maybe we can inspire a bigger change.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, colleague presenters. Just to mention that you've mentioned it all, but the reality is that, yes, the opportunities for financing around the cocoa sector, just that, as mentioned, the cost of credit is quite high. If you are going to the banks and getting interest rate of 18 to 20, and even that one is for entities that really have solid financials to really engage the banks. If not, you go to the other financing schemes and also commercial funding and realize that it's 25, 26, 27, even to 30%. And how many of our entrepreneurs be able to go out there, borrow, and then also be able to generate a return on investment out of which they can pay off some of these interests and the rest. So I think we need to find creative ways of how we can get financing. Just to mention that the village savings and loans is one of the keys that brings about financial inclusion for the low-income communities. But just to mention that out of this country, there are opportunities, there are some funding available with reasonable interest rates, 5, 6, 7, 8%. But the point is that you cannot go out there and say you are going for some 5,000 or 10,000. No. And so we need to create vehicles in country. We need to create or find entities that are willing to take on board some of these bigger amounts in the region of 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, and how such arrangements or such financing could also be on-lended to the value chain or the supply chain actors. We need to think about that. There are also other angels, impact investors who are willing to provide funding, but they also want to see the return on their investment socially and also environmentally. How are we looking at that? So we also need to look at blended financing. Yes, sometimes it's very challenging to get a private sector to invest because there are other things that need to be de-risked before they can also put in the money. So if public funds are not in there, then it becomes challenging also for the commercial entity to also put in the fund. So there are many arrangements that we can put in place to enhance financing as far as the sector is concerned. Just that the reality is that we have tested some of these models, but unfortunately, the actors in getting these financing find it challenging repaying some of these commercial loans. And it is all about the attitude. If the opportunities for financing and our colleagues, our fellow brothers and sisters are going for such funding and not paying back, how are we getting others also to be able to get some of these funding? So I think there are arrangements that we need to do. Beyond that, also, sometimes agricultural financing is very risky in this country. If you check the financing portfolios of the banks, towards agriculture is just about 8 to 12%. But even for such ones, they are looking for shorter loan periods. So they are looking for those who are going in to buy grains and sell quickly and then get the return on it so that they can get their monies back. They are not focusing on the long-term products or projects. So what it is that we as a people, we as a government need to find ways of how we can broker some of these financing so that it will benefit the supply chains, for instance, like cocoa that we are getting ourselves involved in. So I must say that yes, in as much as they are financing, the challenges are there because of the return or the cost of the credit. But beyond that also, as said, other funds are there with low interest rates. And how are we bringing them into an environment for the benefit of the supply chain actors? And then when such financing arrangements are in place, those who take such loans or financing are able to pay back. Because without paying back, it becomes challenging also to sustainably create the financing opportunities for others. So this is just to add up to what Max talked about, and also Naomi talked.
For time purposes, I believe our audience, which this information is meant for, heard it all. Therefore, we will continue. And I will just want to add a little. I dare say finance is always not money, but it comes in the form of knowledge. And so you can join the GNBCC if you're already not a member, where you get to meet excellent brains such as Naomi, Eric, and Max, and share ideas. Most of the things they've told us today, you may not have known if they hadn't told you. We didn't know the programs that Cargill, for instance, already had. But if you're a member of GNBCC, during any of our networking sessions where he takes off his busy schedule to be present, you get to speak to him one-on-one and get in-depth information about their program. Same goes for Eric and Naomi. Naomi, as she sits, is waiting to get into a meeting right after this. There was one supposed to be before this. And so, they have very busy schedules. But during our networking sessions, they do have the time to address casual conversations where informative information will come out and you take advantage of it. I would say that is priceless. So if you're already not a member of GNBCC, please sign up. Go to www.gnbcc.net for more information. And we will gladly, our arms are always open for new members to join us. And if you're already a member who is not active, I will encourage you to be more active, get involved in events, projects, and encourage us. Let us know what we can do better to serve you. And so I will open the chat for us to get more questions. Already I saw Peter Ja. His hand had been up since. If your question hasn't already been addressed during the presentation, kindly unmute and ask your question. And then I'll go into the chat box to address all the other questions that have been asked. Peter, are you still on the line?
I think he also dropped out.
Okay, all right. Then I'm so sorry, Peter. My network went off. And okay, he's here. Okay, there is Pearlie on whose hand went up right away. So Pearl, you can unmute and ask your question.
Hello, thank you so much for a beautiful presentation. My question goes to the one at Cargill. I know that they sell globally, but is it possible for local buyers to get access to cocoa liquor for purchase? If so, how do we go about it? Thank you.
Yes, and well, actually, yes, but I think the issue that we see normally locally is that the quantity. So when we sell, we have a minimum quantity that we sell usually, and we can take that offline. But usually the minimum quantity that we sell, some of the local buyers don't need that much. So it makes it a bit challenging, right? So oftentimes I think there's a few people that have become sort of like, distributors for us, where they will come, they will buy like, 1 or 2 tons of liquor or butter or whatnot, and then break it up in like, small packaging for other people that don't need that much volume, right? So locally, yes, we would like to have a bigger presence locally, especially in cocoa powder, cocoa liquor. So definitely, if you are interested and, let's say the volume that you are looking for is aligned with what we are looking for, I think that could be something that we can talk about. So by all means, feel free to visit our facility. We can connect you with the right person to talk to, and see how we can make it happen.
Thank you. Pearl, I believe your question has been answered. Lucy, you can unmute.
Yes,
and also
please.
ask.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Pearl. Lucy, if you can unmute quickly so that I can get the others. And my colleagues in GNBC.
Thank you. And Good morning, and thank you for the presentations. My quick question is to Solidaridad and Cargill. I want to find out if we want to get support for a cocoa farming community that are doing a self-help project, like building a school. How do we approach them to get this support for them? Thank you. I hope you heard me, Nana.
Yeah,
Yes, I did.
I think somehow I missed you, but if I'm to
Did you hear
understand
me?
what you're saying, that if you want support for a cocoa farming community, how do you go about it, right?
Yeah,
To be able to get that support
yeah.
for the communities, yes. As mentioned by Max, there are cocoa companies that are really working in the cocoa landscapes, responsibly sourcing beans, and also making sure that they can make contributions towards those communities. And a lot has been done by a lot of the cocoa companies. The only thing is that you need to identify those cocoa sourcing entities and the areas that they are sourcing. So for instance, if you are in a location X and you're able to find out that the cocoa companies, let's say it could be cocoa company A or B, are sourcing beans from that area, then the best way is to find out who are they. Sometimes they have sustainability managers or sustainability officers that you can talk to understand exactly how their sustainability budgets are used. And oftentimes they're excited to work with other partners. Because if they don't do that, they're also in business. So if they don't work with other partners to ensure that they'll be able to make some contributions to those environments, it becomes challenging for them. So if you identify one or two of them, you identify how you can help them to be able to get closer connection with the farmers and also the buying arrangements around those areas. Then the opportunity to identify the sources of funding and helping those communities could easily be in an arm's way or in a shorter distance. So I would say that please identify the areas that you intend to work to support, and know the companies that are working in there, engage with their sustainability managers. I mean, get closer. Today, capital is difficult to find. There's competition for capital. So if you don't position very well to tap or to identify the capital, you'll miss out. So there are creative ways of doing that. And one way of doing it, as I said, engage those entities that are there, talk to them, let them understand that you are even willing to support them to source their cocoa beans better. And I believe there are options. Talking to Solidaridad also, we can help you to know exactly which of the companies are working in those areas and what you can do to be able to tap into such opportunities. So beyond this call, you can engage, and then we'll see how best we can support you too. For Solidaridad, we as a civil society organization, we don't ordinarily have the funds to do that. But rather what we do is that we signpost, we are able to work with others so that benefits can accrue to the communities for which we exist as Solidaridad. Thank you.
Yeah, if I may add to that, I think you know, depending on your region and the companies that are there, right? Like Eric said, you have to identify whom to talk to. You know, one issue that we hear sometimes is we may operate in many districts, and then somebody reaches out from us from a district that we don't operate in, right? So if we end up doing a project there, then our cocoa growing communities get mad at us because they're like, okay, well, you get the cocoa from here, why are you going to invest on the other side, right? So you kind of have to be very strategic in how you provide your support. But if you are in a cocoa growing community where, let's say, one of my competitor is based, there is no harm in, like, you know, reaching out to their sustainability contact and figuring out how they can support this project, right? So like Eric said, there's a lot of money, but there's also a lot of competition for that money, right? So just make sure that you are very strategic in how you approach the topic.
Thank you. A quick one. So there were a couple of questions in the chat box. However, because I dropped off, they are all missing in here. So please, those who asked the questions, if you're still online, kindly type your questions once again and we will address it. In the meantime, though, I have a few questions here. I don't know who will take it, but it's saying, why can't we use cocoa bean dryers in Ghana? Eric, the way you are nodding, I think you want to take it.
Yes, as indicated, I mentioned it earlier, and the fermentation and the drying process really impacts on the flavor, the cocoa flavor. And I think over the long haul that Ghana Cocoa Board has more or less is the regulator, but same as the Value Chain Act, they've been working and supporting and making sure that this value is not lost. What has been found is that when you ferment it very well, and when you sun dry it, it gives it that good flavor and also the value that it commands. And Max was saying that our cocoa commands the premium. But in today's world, we cannot always dwell on those things. We need to research and understand what actually keeps the flavor as it is, and how can we invest in technology that will help in improving that. In some areas, they are using solar drying. You go to some countries where the humidity is high, there is a lot of rainfall. You cannot say that you are always waiting for the sun to dry it. You need to find creative ways of drying and also fermenting. So I would say that the time has come for Ghana to look at those opportunities and how we can improve on the fermentation and also the drying. In some areas, they are using the fermentation boxes in doing it. In some areas, as I mentioned, they are using the solar drying. But are they the only ones that will help keep the flavor? I think the answer is no. We need to do a lot of research to understand some of these things better so that we can apply technology. We can apply today's new ways of doing things to still maintain the quality of the cocoa that we are producing so that we can still remain relevant in the marketplace. I think it's very, very important. Thank you.
Thank you too. Thank you. There's a question from Jada. The person is saying, as a young, excuse me, as a young person passionate about the sector and sustainability, I struggle to connect with like-minded peers. What organizations or communities do you recommend for getting more involved? I don't know who would answer this.
I'm sure Naomi will do that because she sits at the nerve center when it comes to yeah, knowing very well what is happening as far as the terrain is concerned.
Thanks for bringing it to me. I was thinking very hard because I mean, I know a lot of platforms, for example, where CSOs come together and stuff like that. We also have a youth sounding board that will focus on cocoa, but that one is not open for others. So I'm thinking very hard, but I don't immediately know an organization or community that would help. I'm peeking at my colleague Peter, who is a cocoa farmer himself. He's also on the call. I'm not sure if he has an idea. He's more involved in the communities, maybe.
I thought Max wanted to say something.
Yeah.
No, I was wondering because I mean I've heard of organizations like I mean Partners in Food Solutions. I don't know if they get to that level, you know, on the agricultural side. I think more for them it's more of the food processing side. But you know, there's a few organizations out there that I think you can just look it up. I know Partners in Food Solutions. There's another one that I'm thinking about. I just can't remember the name, but if it comes back, I'll just tap it in the chat. But you know, I think those are probably, you know, like a starting point for you, right? Partners in Food Solution, and then you can see what other communities you can join from there.
Maybe just to mention or to add that when it comes to the production of the crop, I said I'm not too sure as to the organizations that are involved in there that you can connect with. But being a youth, I would think that you may want to look at the value addition angle of it, because that's where, as a youth, it's more exciting for you. And I believe that I think the ITC did quite some work with the value addition entities, how the chocolatiers and all that. They did quite a lot of work in there. So I believe if you're able to connect with ITC, that's the International Trade Center, they can signpost you to some of the entities or some of the platforms that you can engage to get like-minded and individuals working as far as the value addition part is concerned. I mean, beyond this engagement, I feel that if you want some of these things, we can explore. I have some contacts in there you can explore, and then it can give you more information as to some of these platforms that you can engage on. Thank you.
Nana, what about organization like Orange Corners? Do you know? I mean, I know it's for young entrepreneurs, but some of them are also into agriculture, right? So I don't know if that could be an organization that, you know, interesting enough to join if you want to meet those type of peers.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I was also going to suggest to him that he should follow GNBCC Kiwi on our newsletter. We do put information about all these things as and when they come up. So again, our website, www.gnbcc.net. You can also give us your email address here. We'll add you to our mailing list so that all the information we disseminate out there, you can have access to it as well. Thank you. And Evans has his hands up. Evans, you can unmute and ask your question.
Good afternoon, Nana. How are you?
Very well, and you?
My question is directed to you. First, I would like to know if Cocoa Board have a representative here on this platform.
Unfortunately, we couldn't get anybody on this platform today. But if there should be a follow-up to this webinar, which we hope we can, because our panelists are super busy, we will definitely have a representative. Does that answer your question, please?
Yes, you have. And the second one goes to Max. Max, on your presentation, you made mention that you put up some computer lab or something for some of the farmers, the communities. Is that right?
Yeah, this is correct.
Good. And I would like to know if you have intention of doing more, because some of the cocoa farming communities are very, very poor, and their educational sector is very poor, and they need more of such interventions. And once the cocoa farmer's child is highly educated, then we would be able to do more for the cocoa sector. They would then bring changes. They would then bring transformation in the cocoa sector. So that will encourage more people to come in. And if anybody is willing to partner with us, we will be willing to also do that. Especially if Naomi is hearing me, she can easily also try to partner with us and try to bring education to them by providing them with some basic IT labs and also some basic laptops and other things for their wards. It's going to go a long way for the cocoa farmer to also to be proud of him or herself. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I guess to answer your question, if we are planning to do more, yeah, of course, this is definitely part of our strategy, right? So we don't believe in just sourcing the beans from a community and then walking away. We also want to help that community thrive, right? So supporting education as the very foundation of sustainability development. I think we buy into that idea. So when we go, we source cocoa from one community, we try to also leave a positive impact into that community, right? So the computer lab that we just did, supporting education, I think that was one of them. In other areas, we've done a water project. In other areas, we stood up village saving loans association to help the women grow. So there is a lot of project. Again, how much we can do and how fast we can do it, right? It requires resources and time and people, right? So we are going at a good pace, but again, this is we cannot do everything at once, right? So bear with us as we try to also have our impact locally.
Yeah, thank you very much, and God bless you.
Yeah, maybe even just to add, and also to understand that, some of these cocoa companies, yes, they are investing in all these areas to improve the sectors, improve the communities. But the only thing is that, and I'm sure they don't do these things just because they feel they want to throw money away. They want to ensure that whilst they are doing these things also, they are promoting and growing their business. So I believe that whilst Max is indicating that they are doing some of these things in the areas that they are sourcing, I think my previous comment is that also identify the areas that you feel they have quite some good need and what similar companies like Cargill are operating in there, and how maybe you can approach some of these entities to let them understand that once they improve the communities, then they can also improve their business. So I think it's something that you also need to pay attention. I don't know the organization that you work for, but I believe if you're able to know very well, understand the ecosystems, the cocoa ecosystems very well, you'll be able to identify the companies or the entities that are willing to support in that respect, and how you can constructively engage them to more or less focus attention on the challenges that the communities that we are talking about are facing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Maybe I would also like to mention an organization that might also be interesting for you to link up to. I think Nana, the GNBCC, has also once organized a cocktail with them, the Maxim Nyansa NGO. They do refurbishing of old computers, and they also do computer labs, I believe, in the community. So it might be an interesting contact for you to reach out to and see what they do, what they are doing, and if there is a potential collaboration, just for your networking list. So they're called Maxim Nyansa.
Thank you very much, Naomi. Thank you.
Thank you. So, time is when you're having a good time, when you're getting knowledge, good substance, time just finds a way to run fast. And so we have very little time left. I can't address the rest of the questions, but our panelists are kind enough to provide their email addresses. You can reach out directly to them. Please, if they don't answer right away, don't get agitated. They will take time out of their busy schedules to address the questions. Same with GNBCC, we have provided our email addresses in the chat box. Please contact us and we will definitely address your concerns. We are so grateful that you joined us today. And I don't know what to say. I didn't really know what to expect today, but our panelists, Max, Naomi, and Eric, have totally blown our minds. They've taken us to a different level. Cocoa indeed is a broad subject, and we can have a 3-day workshop. We still won't be able to cover this. So I am believing that we are all going home with something valuable that we can also use to add to what we already know to make the sector a sustainable one, an attractive one, and one that our youth, our children, will be interested in taking up. All too soon, really, we will have to come to an end. And so I will give the floor to my panelists in just a minute or two to just let us know the actions we can take to achieve the goals that this webinar was intended for. And so again, well, I don't want to go in any particular order. Eric said what men can do, women can do, and might do it better. So this time around, there won't be ladies first.
Okay, so let me take a bite on that one. Just to mention that as we have been indicating, the cocoa crop has quite a lot of challenges. Max mentioned that if you are not careful, we become the third. We started from the first, where we're taken by Cote d'Ivoire, and if we are not careful, we are being overtaken by Ecuador. And I'm sorry to say, if we continue this path, then we'll be going to the fourth and the fifth and the fifth, and somehow just get ourselves missing in action as far as cocoa volumes are concerned. What we will have to do is that in spite of challenges, and I think it is clear, where there are challenges, there are opportunities. So there's quite a lot of opportunities that the sector has, or somebody will say the sector is impregnated with a lot of opportunities. It is identifying those opportunities and galvanizing the resources and the skills that we require to be able to tap and take advantage of those opportunities that can make the sector and also the supply chain very thick. So friends, young ones, middle-aged or whoever, please know that this sector is very important for the Ghanaian economy. Don't look at the negatives, don't look at the weaknesses. And even if you are looking at them, see how you can look at them from the point of strength, so that you can put in whatever it takes to take advantage of them. There is always a saying that half glass, half full and half empty is the same, but it's the way you look at it. So look at the cocoa sector from the point of half full than from half empty. And I believe it will be something that could be a good opportunity for you. So thank you very much for listening to us. And I wish going forward, you have a good look at the sector and see how you can penetrate there and make some money for yourselves and also to contribute to Ghana's development. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. I'll go next so Naomi can close us. But I think, you know, a couple of days ago, we had a visit from a delegation from Cargill of highly, you know, very senior leaders. We traveled to Cote d'Ivoire to look at the cocoa supply chain there. Then they came here to Ghana. We went to Ineini, look at, you know, where we source cocoa from and all that stuff. I think the conclusion that they walked away with, right? We continue to believe in West Africa in terms of cocoa, and we continue to believe in Ghana specifically, right? So we want to invest more. We want to support the Cocoa Board. We want to support the Ghanaian government to make sure that this sector is sustainable. There is a lot of challenges, but with challenges also come opportunities. So I want everyone, I guess my call to action is to look, like Eric said, look at this sector as a sector of opportunities, right? So if we do that, we'll continue to push ourselves, you know, to go farther, and we might, who knows, we might become number one as opposed to number 3 or number 5. So again, I really believe in the sector. I really believe in Ghana, and I know we have the willpower and the skill set to achieve that. Thank you.
Thanks very much. After such beautiful words from the two gentlemen, what can I say? My message would be, I think, start small, dream big. Rome wasn't built in one day. And even so, the cocoa sector in Ghana, systems change takes time. So it might go small, but eventually we'll get there. So start small, for me, means try to look outside your bubble for a day. See what you can learn from the people next to you. see what you can learn from someone who isn't in your specific sector, organization, your line of work. Try to be creative for a day. Try to look at the cocoa sector with open eyes, and indeed don't lose hope. And then dream big. See what is possible. There is a lot of innovation possible. There is a lot of young people that can go into the cocoa sector. You never know. The possibilities are there. And if we build together, if we stand strong together, if we work together, for example, through something like the Cocoa Monitor, I think the cocoa sector in Ghana can go a long way again. And we should look at it with a positive view. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much to all of you. On behalf of GNBCC, well, to borrow Naomi's words, start small, dream big. GNBCC is here to welcome you into their membership. We are available to give you information as much as we can give you. But again, if you are not our member, we won't spend too much time looking for information for you. And so on behalf of GNBCC, my general manager and the board and our staff members, I would want to say a very big thank you to our panelists, Naomi, Max, and Eric, for taking time off your busy schedule to educate us all. We don't take this for granted at all. And I would want to plant a little seed that we may call on you again for a follow-up session on this, because I haven't had enough, and I believe most of the people haven't had enough of you. I think initially I said I was going to share your email addresses, but then not to overwhelm you, we will share GNBCC's email addresses. All questions coming to us, we will put together and send to you at your convenience. Kindly answer them so that we can rightfully give back to our audience and yes, address their concerns. Thank you so much, audience, for coming. Without you, we wouldn't have had a webinar. And so if you've been educated, if you've been well informed, next time we have a webinar, remember to invite somebody, friends, family. Sometimes you may think it will not be of importance to anyone, but you never know. Bring a friend, let a friend bring a friend, and together we grow and make a difference. Thank you once again, and all of you do have a beautiful and productive working day. Oh, and the weekend ahead. Bye.